if you're on some sort of healing journey, whether it's GAPS or another type of gut healing protocol, the whole goal of that is healing the gut lining, that mucosal lining, reestablishing it with beneficial proteins that are going to feed it and beneficial bacteria. And a big part of that is getting rid of the pathogenic bacteria and yeast and the overgrowth of those opportunistic bacteria and yeast like Clostridia, Klebsiella, Candida. And so when you're doing the GAPS protocol or some other gut healing journey, it's important to include meat stock. That's really going to help the gut lining. It also is extremely detoxifying. People constantly misunderstand how detoxifying meat stock is. It actually kills Candida tentacles and heals the gut lining, so they can no longer penetrate into your gut lining. They can no longer break apart the villi and those tight junctions and create holes that go into your bloodstream. And then usually the next step is bringing in and increasing probiotics, different strains and species. And what those do is they secrete lots of acids, lactic acid, hydrogen peroxide. They change the pH in your gut lining so that those yeast, pathogens, opportunists, bacteria, anything that's overgrown can no longer thrive and survive, basically. So they create an environment where they now die. And so those are like the first kind of 2 steps in healing your gut lining. But once you've kind of plateaued, or you're having lots of fermented foods, maybe you're having even kefir, which has like 60 plus strains of beneficial bacteria and yeast. So try to compete with that. Any probiotic supplement, they can absolutely not compete with milk kefir for diversity and quantity. But let's say you're at this point where you're having meat stock, you're having lots of fermented foods, you're handling them well, you're not really getting die-off anymore, and you're kind of just plateauing. Maybe your health has improved quite a bit, but not fully, and you're just like, okay, what's the next step? I would like to suggest the next step for you might be including aromatic herbs and spices into your diet. If you're doing like GAPS intro, it's not recommended to have them because they can be extremely irritating on a gut that has like ulcerations, like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, IBD. They're going to have a lot of irritating spots, ulcerations, and so it can just be way too aggravating. Another thing is, in this stage, when you're going through intro or even just the early stages of full GAPS or any gut healing journey, you're already having tons of die-off. You're already, every bite of sauerkraut or sauerkraut juice or beet kvass, whatever you're having, is killing off tons of bad bacteria and yeast, and they're releasing toxic gases like alcohol, LPS, lipopolysaccharides, which are extremely toxic. It's giving your liver so much to detoxify and to neutralize. And so this is essential, but like I said, once you've kind of established that, you're no longer having crazy amounts of die-off, you're kind of plateauing, and you're like, okay, I can handle tons of these fermented foods, not doing anything anymore. By the way, this can take months, if not years, for people. So if you're not in this stage, great, keep going with those. They're still doing a great service in your body. But if you have plateaued and you're like, okay, I'm not really seeing benefits, including aromatic herbs and spices is awesome, because in the past few videos, I've kind of shared about biofilms a little bit, but it's basically Candida, other yeast, other pathogenic bacteria. They go in your gut lining. Sorry, I'm on a holiday and my daughter's here with me, a little bit grumpy. So basically, biofilms are like little homes, little camps, little army camps in your gut lining that they set up. And they're 5,000 times more resistant to antibiotic, antimicrobial, antifungal medications than the planktonic forms of Candida. So planktonic Candida or yeast are just like floating around. But when they're established in those biofilms, they're secure. They kind of have like a coating on them. So when you have sauerkraut or kefir, or even you take an a prescription antifungal like nystatin or something like that, it doesn't really do anything. It does stuff to the planktonic free floating, but the stuff that's stuck in those biofilms, which is going to be metals, toxins, glyphosate, parasites, all of that's going to be stuck in those biofilms on your gut lining. And it's really hard to like penetrate into that. So all that to say, I just want to kind of give you a brief overview if this is interesting to some of you. But aromatic herbs and spices, I'll name a few, but they really go in and they are powerful at breaking up those biofilms. And now you don't want to break up the biofilms right in your healing journey, because you're just going to have an insane amount of die-off. Your liver is already overburdened. You don't want to be adding more metals and more parasites and everything. But once you get to a certain point where those sauerkraut and fermented foods and everything isn't really doing anything anymore. We're not really having that die off. Now it's time to break open those biofilms. So adding in the herbs and spices, cinnamon, clove, oregano, lavender. There's really tons of them. Spices in curries, your ginger, your garlic.
Looks like gray as white.
Yeah, we'll have to go check. Those are powerful, and they have an amazing job at going in and actually breaking open those biofilms. So when we break open those biofilms, now that Candida, Clostridia, Klebsiella, whatever pathogenic bacteria and yeasts are now, they're not protected any longer. So breaking up those biofilms is essential. Now your body can go through a deeper amount of healing. Okay, sweetie, I need you to stop. Sorry, this is definitely a candid holiday mode video. Yeah, now when we break open those biofilms, it's giving your body a lot of stuff to detox, and it's really great because it's time to do that. So adding in those, go super slow. You know, this doesn't mean take 5 drops of lavender in your water and your oregano oil. I'm not like promoting like buy my essential oils, but maybe it means, you know, just being intentional with herbs and spices. Maybe you put a little lavender on topically and it can help with those biofilms as it goes into your bloodstream. And this is going to help with the systematic infections as well, because often we have like gut problems, overgrowth of bacteria, but then through breaking open the villi and the intestinal tract and everything in those tight junctions, it gets into the bloodstream, and then it travels past the blood-brain barrier into your brain. So then you have all these toxins like lipopolysaccharides, which are extremely toxic, going into your brain, affecting your hormone or your neurotransmitter creation. It affects your sleep because you can no longer create melatonin. It blocks the pathways to create serotonin and melatonin. So the point of this is like, okay, that's a ton of information. Who cares? The point of this is often those bacteria infections are not just in our gut. So when we're doing GAPS, or we're doing a gut healing journey with the probiotics in the meat stock, we are attacking that, but it also gets into our bloodstream, into our joints, into our glands, into everything else. And this is where the aromatic herbs and spices can really get in, break up those biofilms, and stop the systematic infections of those pathogens. So there are a few products I use with clients. I don't want to just say them on here because it's, you know, people self-diagnose, and I don't want people to get sicker or anything like that. But if you can include some of those herbs and spices in your diet, and, you know, rather than just having a stir fry, you make sure you're adding tons of garlic and all that on this next level of healing, this can be really helpful for you. Like I said, maybe it's lavender tea, maybe it's, you know, maybe it is oregano oil, to help break up those biofilms and really give your body the next level of healing and detoxification that is requiring. So sorry that was kind of all over the place. This was a bit of a spontaneous video, but a lot of people are giving me good feedback, and they're enjoying the kind of diving deeper into gut health and what's actually going on. And so I just want to encourage you, if you can, I think I said cinnamon, clove are great, oregano, lavender. Those are some ones that have been really powerful in showing that they break up those biofilms. And then once they do that, like I said, now those lactobacillus, the bifidobacterium, all that can get in there, excrete the hydrogen peroxide, excrete the lactic acid, and really get rid of those parasites, get rid of the overgrowth of Candida yeast, Clostridia yeast, Klebsiella, and just bring you into a new level of healing. So I hope this was helpful. Have a yummy curry with lots of, you know, cumin, coriander, ginger, or have a yummy like burrito bowls with cauliflower rice and some, you know, the cumin, what else? Chili powders, all those, and enjoy.